So it's getting that time of year again. We're starting to get really chilly at night. And with that comes the possibility of the batteries in the vehicle starting to go bad. Something about that cold weather just really starts to zap them, especially at the beginning of the season. So with that being said, I went ahead and dug out my battery analyzer out of the toolbox. I want to go ahead and run through all the batteries in my vehicles real quick just to see if I've got anything that looks like it's starting to show signs of getting weak. If you've never used one of these before, there's all kinds of brands on the market, but the ones I've been using for the better part of 8 years now is this one made by FOXWELL. So as soon as you get this thing out of the convenient storage case that it comes with, is you got your tester here with a set of leads that's fixed to the unit. It's about 6 foot long, which gives you a decent amount of cord where you can actually run this unit into the vehicle as well. I'll tell you why that's important here in just a second. So first thing you're going to do when you get this thing out of the box is go ahead and hook it up to your battery leads, and then it's going to immediately show you on the screen what the voltages of the battery sitting at idle. So in our case here, we're 12.76 volts. When you hit the enter button here, the next screen you're going to have is it's going to ask you whether it's 12 volts or 24 volts. And that's going to be kind of handy because I know some of your golf carts and different things like that have batteries run on the 24 volt systems as well. So that's going to give you the capability of being able to test two different systems. In our case here, we're going to select 12 volt, and then it's going to ask you whether it's in the vehicle or out of the vehicle. In our case, we're in the vehicle, but if you've got a battery that's been brought to you, you can bench test that battery as well, or you can leave it in the vehicle like we are here right now. So we're going to go ahead and select in vehicle, and then it's going to ask you whether it's a top post battery or side post. We'll go ahead and put top post in our case, and then what type of battery that is. So if it's a regular battery, AGM battery, gel battery, just select the battery that you've got in your vehicle. The next screen is going to ask you which way you want to measure that battery. In our case, it's going to be cold cranking amps. So we're going to select CCA, and then you need to know what the cold cranking amps rating is on your battery. And sometimes that can be hard to tell because like in my case here, I've got this big unit that's mounted on top of the battery that I have to take off to be able to see what that is. So I went ahead and just consulted the internet to see what the battery ratings for this vehicle is supposed to be, and it told me 750. So we're going to go ahead and select that. But obviously the best plan is to go ahead and get that rating off the battery itself. That way you make sure you have the correct reading. So I'm going to put 750. It's immediately going to start testing my battery for me, and then it's going to let me know based on that rating I gave it, as long as we're within a certain percentage of that battery's rating, we should be good. So in our case, we measured 688 cold cranking amps out of 750, and that's going to tell me that it's a good battery right now. Now the next thing it might do is it might actually come back saying you need to recharge your battery, and or it's a bad battery based on what that measured rating would be. If the vehicle's been sitting for a little while, you can actually try recharging that battery to see if the battery comes back to life if it's just been sitting for a little while, and then you can retest the battery again to see if it's still testing bad or if it's actually testing good at that point in time. So just follow the prompts on the screen and it'll let you know what you need to do. Now in our case, like I said, we got a good battery, so the next step would be to actually test the starter and the alternator, and that's where that long cord comes into play. So let's go ahead and take this unit to the inside of the vehicle, and then we'll run the rest of our testing from there. Okay, so the next step is it's going to say to hit the starter. So in this case, we're going to go ahead and test the starter. We'll hit the enter button. It says to start the engine. So we'll do that now. It's telling me the volt on the battery as well as the time it took for the starter to engage. So we are good there. So we're going to move on to our charging test next. Now this is going to check the alternator output to make sure it's actually putting out the correct amount of voltage. So it's going to ask me to do with loads off. So we'll turn everything off first and then rev the engine with loads off. That's going to take an initial measurement. So we'll do that now. Okay, engine rev detected. So idle engine back, press continue. So next thing it's going to do is test the alternator at idle. We'll go ahead and get that baseline measurement. Now it's going to tell me to turn all the loads on in the vehicle. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on my high beams, turn on my blower motor here, and we'll go ahead and crank that to high for the moment. Test again. Okay, so now it's telling me here that with no load, I was measuring just right at 15 volts. Loaded was 14.6. So we've got a good alternator. We're testing just fine like we need to be. That's how you test your battery, your starter, and your alternator on your vehicle. To let you know everything's working correctly within your vehicle and you don't have any parts that are starting to fail on you. As I already mentioned, is it not only tests just your vehicle, but you can also test batteries that are in trailers. So if you got a dump trailer like I do, I like to check that once a year as well. But you can also check the batteries outside of the vehicle. So if you got one that's sitting in the garage, you want to test to see if it's still good. Or if you're working in a small shop and someone brings you a battery and you want to see if that battery is good for them and whether it needs to be replaced, you have that ability to do so as well. So this unit's absolutely awesome for anyone like myself, which is DIY. I do a lot of my own work, all the way down to the small shop looking to be able to test batteries, and you're looking for something that comes in at a pretty good value that's not going to break the bank. This one made by FOXWELL absolutely gets it done. Hopefully that was helpful for you guys in deciding whether this unit might be something that you might want to keep in your shop or garage. Other than that, that's all I've got for you on this one though. I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch. We'll catch you guys on the next one.